Hello everyone, thank you for joining us on this edition of The Inside on Equinoxe Television. I am Babler Jonathan. Former Supreme Court Judge Barrister Aya Paul Abine, his sons Aya Douglas and Aya Oliver, and others accused of acts of terrorism, secession, failure to report, arson, murder, hostility against the fatherland, all of these in connection to the Anglophone crisis, and following a complaint by Honorable Aka Martin, Agual Linus, and others. Aya Douglas and Aya Oliver were interrogated at the Southwest Gendarmerie Legion office in the regional capital, Boya, Friday, 13 January 2023. Barrister Aya Paul Abine was absent due to ill health, and this is coming close to 6 years after the former Supreme Court Judge, Barrister Aya Paul Abine, was arrested January 21, 2017. He was still in office at the time. He was detained for over 7 months and later released without charge. A few weeks earlier, the head of state, Paul Biya, in his 2022 end-of-year message to the nation, said the global security situation of Cameroon, including the crisis-stricken northwest and southwest regions, is under control. He praised the army for fighting the secession conflict, and earlier this week, the defense forces killed a lead separatist fighter in Teke along the Kumba Tombe Road and exposed his mortal remains at 3 Corners, Fiango in Kumba. And we're going to be taking a look at all these, plus upcoming elections in Cameroon. President Paul Biya has convened the electorate for senatorial election March 12, 2023 during a recent meeting of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, CRM political party here in Douala. Its national president said his party will no longer boycott any election. Professor Maurice Campos said the CRM will take part in all elections with or without an electoral code. The party had boycotted earlier elections, demanding for the revision of the electoral code, and that the Anglophone crisis that's been pulling on for close to 6 years now be resolved. None of these demands have been met. So what explains the change of position? We will have answers in this edition of The Inside. Stay with us and meet our guest in some few seconds. Our guest today is Barrister NDONG Christopher, member of the Cameroon Bar Association, Aya family lawyer, Secretary General of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, CRM political party. Barrister, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Babila Jonathan. Thank you for inviting me. This is my 3rd participation in The Inside on Equinoxe Television.
Right, and we are starting with the case of Barrister Aya Paul Abine and his sons, Aya Douglas and Aya Oliver, and others who have been accused of heavy crimes like acts of terrorism, secession, failure to report, arson, murder, and hostility against the fatherland. Barrister, tell us more about these charges.
Those were the charges that we met when I went with my clients to the Gendarmerie Legion in Boya. For a complete story, Barrister Aya Paul, today called Barrister, was sworn in the Cameroon Bar after being retired from the administration as Chief Justice in the Supreme Court. He was one of those justices. We know his past, his steadfastness, very strict to the law, applies the law. We know him for a man whom you cannot bend at any corner. Justice Aya Paul, who is presently very sick, he is on a wheelchair, the legs swollen, an old man, a barrister by profession, was summoned by the second in command of the National Gendarmerie Legion in Boya. On the 12th of January, Barrister Aya Paul forwarded to me the summon that was issued to him and his children, whom you've just listed, to appear before the second in command, the Gendarmerie Legion in Boya. I took off that very 12th, arrived late, slept, met him 9 o'clock in his house. He gave me the physical copy of that summon. I said, Pa, the first thing I will raise when I reach there is the fact that due process was not followed for you to be summoned, irrespective of your ill health, which is primordial, the first factor I will put.
What was not respected?
Due process was not respected because being a lawyer enrolled in the Cameroon Bar Association, Barrister Aya Paul, someone was supposed to be sent to the bâtonnier. We have the president of the Cameroon Bar Association, who is heading the Bar Council. The Legion commander was supposed to send that summon to the bar president, who would take notice of the summon, inform Aya Paul, and then go with him there. If he's so busy, because the bâtonnier has numerous functions, if he's so busy that his timetable does not permit him to be there, the bâtonnier has several representatives in all the 10 regions. And in the Southwest region, we have the representative of the Cameroon Bar Association, Barrister NDONG Benjamin. He was to be informed by the bâtonnier and said there is a summon for a lawyer, giving his fiat to the bâtonnier of the Southwest region to go and meet the barrister, Aya Paul, and tell him you have a summon, I will go with you to assist you. And then the bar president will send other lawyers, permit other lawyers to follow, because they should come as a team to come and see and assist Aya Paul to know what was happening. That was not done. The summon just came directly to him. That is a violation of the organic law of the bar. It is very clear. We have seen these things happen, and the people do it with impunity. That is, the administration of justice do those things with impunity. They go directly and arrest a lawyer. Go directly and tell a lawyer, you have to appear before the judicial authorities. It is wrong. No matter what a lawyer has done, the bâtonnier is the person to be seized and informed of the problem. Then if there's a summon, he has to take necessary steps to accompany that lawyer and then assist in the proceedings, in the inquiries, if it's an inquiry, in the investigation, if it's an investigation. That is how it has to be done. The Aya Paul sat him, a barrister at law, sat him in his house, very sick. The authorities do not even care to know that a retired justice, they don't care to know what is happening with him. It is not heard anywhere in the world. All those retired, high-ranking officers are being taken care of by government, but he has been abandoned. In the first place, Aya Paul was abused when he was even in function. I don't think it is today that they will come to say Aya Paul is somebody that served this nation.
We'll certainly come to that in a short while. Time for us to dig more into what you just mentioned. Justice Aya Paul, or Barrister Aya Paul Abine, is not the first lawyer who has been through this kind of violations of the law. We have seen several lawyers who have gone through this. Are lawyers under threat in Cameroon?
Lawyers are not secure, they are not safe. We lawyers are not safe. In a junta like this government that is ruling this country, the lawyers are not safe. We are being sworn and put at the same level. Lawyers take oath, magistrates take oath. But the magistrates are accomplices to act to bring lawyer to disrepute. It's not correct. They molest lawyers, magistrates sit and look at, legal department, prosecutors sit and look at, they're happy. Even the Minister of Justice is happy to see that lawyers are molested.
But what explains this uncordial relationship between
some
lawyers
people
and
have
magistrates?
State power. State power. Lawyers don't have state power. Lawyers have powers given to them by the law. Lawyers, by the law, must defend the rights of citizens. We have to be protected by government. If we are not protected, in fact, there is something wrong. And any society where the lawyer finds himself in fact, insecurity, the government cannot protect lawyers, then that society is in trouble. That society is in chaos. Because the Minister of Justice, the magistrate, the procureur general, the procureur de la République, that is state councils, They minimize lawyers because they have that police power, that gendarme power, the military power, that they have the right given to them by law to order for the arrest of somebody, rightly or wrongly. They will say the lawyers from time to time have been abused. We were not supposed to be arrested the way they do it. We were not supposed to be treated the way they do it. I want to tell you something. A magistrate was caught in the act of corruption. He has never been disturbed. On the contrary, they transfer him. You saw what happened in Bamenda. You saw what happened in Limbe, Tiko, Mutengene, Munya, where lawyers claiming certain rights were arrested in their robes, beaten, tortured, their offices, which is inviolable. They violated and entered the office without any due process. That is what we are saying. Lawyers have no place. They have their place, but government in place does not respect lawyers because they know that the lawyers, if they give them the place that they have, lawyers will be able to counteract all the ills, the human rights abuses that is in society.
And that is what happened to Barrister Aya Paul Abini on January 21, 2017. At the time, he was still in office as a Supreme Court judge. He was picked up, he was arrested, but others say he was kidnapped by a group of soldiers who took him away. And the family is saying today that that contributed to his present ill health situation.
You are right, Mr. Jonathan. I want to tell you, I was a principal actor, lawyer in that matter. Justice Aya Paul, by the virtue of his status, if he has any problem within the state or with the state, within his profession, the law governing magistracy in this country states that at his rank, a prosecutor at the Supreme Court, at his rank, he was the highest in grade, but yet he was made a subordinate under somebody who was lower in grade than him. He did not bother. The problem came up because Aya Paul, in fact, went into politics. He was a leader of a political party. Nothing restricts him from that. Now, there was a summon for him. They would have seized the president of the Supreme Court or his boss, the Procureur General, to say, your subordinate, in quotes, because he was higher in rank over the person, your subordinate is supposed to answer charges. It is then the president of the Supreme Court will now commit magistrates of his rank or above his rank to sit him down and then make the interrogations before furnishing the legal department or furnishing the police investigator. It was said at the time. But they violated it. Can you imagine in a country where a Supreme Court justice was arrested illegally? When we say he was arrested illegally, arbitrarily, because that arrest took place on a Saturday. The law is clear, they don't arrest people on Saturdays. Not to talk of him for that rank. They came, ambushed his residence, pulled him out, and stopped any other person to make any noise and took him away. That was an abduction. They abducted Aya Paul and took him to SED. We were informed there later, we rushed to SED, they couldn't give us access to Justice Aya Paul Abini at the time. Total violation, acts of impunity. The illegal detentions trimmed up for close to 1 week, after which they allowed lawyers to see him. Lawyers, us, I was one. We saw him, we started discussing with him, and decided not to file an action against the acts committed by the police judicial officers. And that act went by way of an habeas corpus, meaning his arrest was illegal. They did not follow due procedure, was never respected. His rank, the people who are even questioning him have no right to question him. They would have taken him, the Procureur General. You have magistrate at the level of the Procureur General, the Supreme Court, that have powers, rank, to carry out that investigation. Their reports, they can now send it down to SED for SED to continue and follow what is prescribed within the Criminal Procedure Code. That was not done. Can you imagine? Justice Ayapol in a country called Cameroon was before police people, 4 stars, gendarme officers, 2 Vs, 3 Vs, up to lieutenants. You are putting a question to your boss. It's unheard of. It's shameful to this country. Ayapol at that point, irrespective of the crime, he was their boss. You don't put questions to your boss. And so it takes us back to the law. The law says only those who are of rank with Ayapol, and the only people who had rank with Ayapol would have been procureurs generals of the Supreme Court, because they have that rank, they are there, they carry out investigation, they have that powers. Then judges of ranks above him and his rank, no other judge below him can put any questions to him. That is the law organizing magistracy in this country. But then they violated all of that, dragged him, pushed him into a small cell without no breathing space. He collapsed. They got panic and had to change and had to arrange another small space and let in little ventilation, and then people start visiting him. It is not correct, that kind of punishment, no matter what he did. The crime he committed, he does not merit that kind of treatment. We say that government has something to grind with the family of Ayapol. It did not only end there. After they discovered that there was nothing against Ayapol, they forcefully provoked his retirement. He was not really getting full retirement, but they anticipated the retirement. He went on retirement. Till today I speak, Ayapol McClan has made it clear to me they have blocked his salary. He has not seen his pension. They have blocked everything economy for Ayapol. And right now, in the latest accusation, which we went there on the 13th, in fact, accusing a sick man of arson, destruction, secession, acts of terrorism. How can that happen? He is on a wheelchair. At what time in space Ayapol was in his village, in his division, Akwaya, to be giving instructions to people to cross over? Let me tell you, Mr. Jonathan, it should be made known to the public that Ayapol is under total insecurity. The state, we don't know what the state wants from Ayapol. We don't know who is grinding his axe with Ayapol. We don't know actually what Ayapol did. They are only trumping all charges against Ayapol. Ayapol, till today, the entire family is in problem. The son of Ayapol, equally, I have followed him under other investigations at SED in 2 areas, Service Central and at the level of the cabinet of the Minister of Defense. Ayapol has been dragged before the judicial police for the same charges. These charges you see here, Mr. Jonathan, the world should know, are the same charges. And right now, they are transcending the charges to the children. And this time around, they have englobed Aya with 2 of his children and others, just to deface the thing so that it should not be an Aya problem. But I want to clearly state that we don't know what government is looking behind Aya. You have cut somebody off the means, financial means to live. You have cut him off from his pension. They have not paid him any dime. He has taken a case against government. Government has blocked everything and are struggling to block even at the international level. Up to date, Aya has resolved to stay him back in his private small home in Boya. He is there. He is not a threat. He hasn't got arms. He is not having militants. He even resigned from his party to show that he is, in fact, alone and wants to live peacefully to his last days. But yet, government is still behind him. We don't know what they want.
What can possibly explain? Is there any legal explanation to this action of blocking his accounts, his pension, and every other thing about it? Is there any explanation to it?
The explanation is very simple for every Cameroonian to know. Once this government identifies somebody as an enemy, they look for every parameters. They have the yam and the knife. That is the simple explanation I'll give you. The government has the yam and the knife. They cut to any size. Now, with that knife, and I have the yam, they have cut his salary. With that knife, I have the lamb. They have taken his children, they are pushing them, beating them psychologically, morally. They are torturing this family. with the yam and the knife they have, they cut to any size. If government does not pay Aya's retirement, who else will go and pay that money? If government says Aya's rights as a magistrate, we will never gain anything. Who else will pay that money? So I want to tell you, Mr. Jonathan, thank you for the question. Mr. Barrister Aya Paul Abine, in fact, is like any other ordinary citizen. He is on retirement forcefully. His salary has not been paid. If his name is not coming up on the payroll, what will Aya do to get it on the payroll? It is because the same people, the same government that wants to see the man brought down to nothing and he should die and leave this earth, impoverish him, are depriving him of his fundamental rights, basic rights. Aya has surrendered to them. Okay, do what you want to do. But right now, they come back with the same charges they gave him in 2017. Let me add to what I observed when I was assisting in that interrogations at the Legion Commander's office, the second in command. They asked me, the colonel asked me, where is Mr. Aya Paul? Can you imagine, Mr. Aya Paul? They don't have any sense, any good sense of judgment to even respectfully call him Justice Aya Paul. Where is Mr. Aya Paul? I say, Barrister Aya Paul is in his house, very sick and cannot come. I took the photo, I showed the investigator. Do you expect this man with swollen legs on a wheelchair to come here? Is there no other means you can do to take, if you call it a regulatory commission, to go there and get his statements from the house? But then, you summon him illegally. You would have passed through the bâtonnier. We have only come. I have come because I'm his lawyer. I'm the family lawyer. I left Yaoundé overnight to be here. In order that I want to see what is happening. But the charges you have put against this man has never moved to 2017 from Yaoundé. He is sick. He had eyes problems. Today, it has developed to all kinds of symptoms, which is as a result of the locked up in Yaoundé. He was locked up on conditions that no person in this country at that rank of justice would put in that small hole, and was maltreated by small police people he was commanding when he was even procureur in the court of first instance. It is really hardening. It shows something that these people have no respect for Anglophones, no matter the rank of an Anglophone. And we see them all over. They are maltreating Anglophones. And that is what Anglophones have been crying in and out. Today, shamelessly for them to be quiet. The man is quiet. They turn around that he committed acts of destruction, arson,
murder, secession, hostility against the fatherland,
failure to report. Aya Paul should be reporting when we have state institutions all over Akwaya.
Is it a problem of crimes committed or a problem of him being an Anglophone? Because there are two things that are mixing up in what you are saying there.
You cannot separate one from the other. The two are the same, and it has been the long-time problem in this country that this government always degrade Anglophones. We are seeing it in Aya, even in service. I've told you that Aya Paul at the time was appointed Procureur General at the Supreme Court. He had a rank that he would have been the Procureur General, the chief himself, but he was put under somebody whom he had higher grades than him. That is one. You should know that. Number two, the fact that we have seen so many Procureur Generals, Francophones have retired and gone to they went to. Some of them have been in UPC, some of them have been in other political parties. They have never been tortured the way they have tortured Aya Paul. The fact that Aya Paul decides to come and sit him quietly and does not make noise, they still turn to take his children into a moral torture with summonses and all those things left and right. Honestly, it shows you how they have a bitter taste for Anglophones. Number one. Number two, there is no right thing this government is doing as far as Aya is concerned, as a person, as a citizen of this country. The government should know that citizens of this country have a right to criticize government. It is through criticisms that the government ameliorates its functioning. To say that, what is the crime of Aya Paul? Aya is a terrorist. Can you imagine that the government is saying that somebody, a justice of this country, well known today, is a terrorist? Does he have a terrorist group? No. Is Aya a member of a terrorist gang? No. Is Aya participating in terrorism? No. Has he fueled people to march all over Akwaya? No. What has he done? Akwaya is even an enclave place. To even phone there, there is no way to phone. Akwaya has no road to lead to that place. It is an enclave area. There were skirmishes of late where they kill people over there. That is what they are imputing on Aya. Why? Because a parliamentarian, politically a parliamentarian, decides now to take a complaint against the Aya family. Of recent, before this case, he took Aya's son. We went to Seth. There are two of them that he took to Seth. Aya Abine. There's Aya Matthew. The same charges by that parliamentarian. The other one Aya Abine went to court is the publication of Obama and in Vision Card, the publication of anecdote, and then the chain itself. These are the people behind Aya family and saying Aya was trafficking guns. We are in court. Mr. Jonathan, we are in court. It's to tell you how government, through people interposed, use the methods to attack the Aya family. The Aya family is under insecurity, judicial insecurity. The Aya family is in trouble with this government. The question now we are asking, what has Mr. Aya Abine, Barrister Aya Abine, Justice Aya Abine done to this government? Somebody who has served this country with his knowledge, might, and power. He ends up in this form. His salary has been cut. His money is not being paid as a retired civil servant. What has he done that has caused problem in this country? We have separatists killing people. Aya has killed nobody. What has he done?
The two persons who filed the complaint, Honorable Aka Martin and Agua Linus, are all Anglophones. Is this not what is referred to today as Anglophones fighting Anglophones?
These are Anglophones attached to the CPDM regime. Their parliamentarian is a CPDM parliamentarian. The other person is a parliamentarian. You know, from what I gathered, they have their cultural differences out there in Akwaya. And now, you call the differences of power out there. There are other parliamentarians that have been there before the man here now. They have never been a problem to people of Akwaya. But the current parliamentarian has taken on the Aya family. He should tell us what he is claiming from the Aya family.
We're going to take some few minutes to go to the newsstands, and Immaculate Fogwe is going to tell us what the newspapers reported this week. This is the press review with Immaculate Fogwe.
As reported by the Post, the military invades a death ceremony in Bambui, Northwest region, killing a masquerade and injuring civil mourners. The Guardian Post says, after release of detained workers, Doctors Without Borders hints on resuming life-saving services in the Southwest region. Another edition of the Guardian Post reports, at New Year wishes ceremony, diplomats urge President Paul Biya to pursue dialogue to end Anglophone crisis. The Post Weekender, budgetary line 94 and 65, 1,000 people in Supreme State audit radar for alert embezzlement. The reporter states, New Year wishes, ministers panic-stricken as President Paul Biya hints on arrest of embezzlers. According to Echo Outlook, President Paul Biya touts Cameroon's resilient economy. The Advocate, dreaded 2023 financial year. Honorable Etombi explains government tax decisions. The Horizon exclaims, Anglophone crisis, Dr. Success Congo makes serious allegations against Ferdinand Gongo, but observers question his motives. The Guardian Post equally exclaims, vehicles grounded, commuters stranded as false scarcity hits major towns and cities in Cameroon. Municipal update says, population salutes the commitment of the government to fix the Kumbai-Kondo Titi road.
Thank you, Immaculate Fogwe, for the press review. We are still with our guest, Barrister NDONG Christopher, member of the Cameroon Bar Association, Aya family lawyer and Secretary General of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, CRM, political party. Barrister, to conclude on this case of the Aya family, where are we today with that case? What was said at the during the hearing at the Southwest Gendarmerie Legion office?
Thank you. I went to the Southwest Gendarmerie Legion in Boya with 4 other colleagues, lawyers. When we arrived, we went with 2 of Aya's sons, Aya Douglas and Aya Oliver. Aya Bine himself was supposed to be there because of his ill health. He didn't come. When we arrived there, we met the colonel, second in command in the Legion. He received us, we entered, he gave us seat, we sat. He said, where is Mr. Aya Paul? I said, well, he's sick. I showed him the photo. He said, okay. That aside, where are the other 2? We showed him Douglas, we showed him Oliver. He said, okay, anybody who is not a lawyer here should leave. The others left and said, the 2 people, 1 should leave so that we'll start with 1. They started with Douglas. Douglas, you have been charged with all the crimes you have had. Terrorism charges of secession, failure to report, arson, and the rest. Hostility against the fatherland. Douglas said all of these charges filed up by the parliamentarian and the elite, CPDM elite in Akwaya, he does not know them. That's the first thing. He has spent 30 years in China. He has lived 30 years in China. He came to this country in 2016, December. In January, they arrested his father. It caused him not to go back to China. He remained him here and stayed in Boya. On his father's business place they call Bakassi na Cameroon. It's in Boya there in my 17, 18. It is there. He says the place is a motel where you have obeges, we call it hotels, and a bar. That's where he is working. He sells drinks and gives people places to sleep. He has never if you take him to Akwa, he will not know his village. He cannot know. So to say that he committed all of this crime, he does not know when he became a party to these crimes. He is not a party to the crime. He knew nothing. There is nothing. The officer asked him, but given that you don't know anything, did you hear that they kill people? He said, yes, he heard. What did you do? The man said, the only thing he could do was say to himself, killing is a bad thing. And that if they can end these hostilities, it will be very good because all what is happening is not good. But he, directly or indirectly, he has never participated. He does not know, he don't even know that area. They asked him, we hear that you were celebrating in your bar, Bakassi, na Cameroon. Can you tell us why you were celebrating? Because people died in your area where they were killing them. He said, he said, give me the photos. Show me how I was jubilating. No such event has happened in that Bakassi na Cameroon in my 18. So all what you are saying is very strange, sir. That man should tell you what he wants, what he's asking from Aya family. First, he took my brother. He took the second brother, all in Yaoundé. We waited till today. The same charges. Today, they have turned to me. Tomorrow, they will go to the others. We are 2 of us today. Maybe the others too will follow suit very soon.
And the next?
The next was now Oliver. No, hold on. I'm not finished with Douglas. They asked him a question, Douglas. Why that name Bakassi na Cameroon? He said it's a positive thing. You should not even ask me because Aya Paul was inspired when we had the conflict between Nigeria and Cameroon and decided to open a business called Bakassi na Cameroon, meaning that no matter what Nigeria is saying, the International Criminal Court is saying Bakassi belongs to Cameroon. Where is the negativity in all of that? It's positive. The name is positive. Until today, and finally, God heard our prayers. Cameroon won the case against Nigeria. And Bakassi is Cameroon. So the name Bakassi na Cameroon is pidgin. It's positive. There's nothing negative there. So to ask me that kind of question, I don't know what to tell you. That's all I can say. My father was just somebody foresighted. And he said it. He gave it a name. And today, look at the payment they are giving him. For being patriotic, shouting that Bakassi na Cameroon, today he is in all kinds of charges that does not even resemble him and his family. Then the second person was called in. Oliver came in. They asked Oliver, yes, why did you cause housing, destruction, secession? He said, all of those grammar you are talking there, I am a student. I've studied in University of Boya all my time. And I have my degree in law. I'm struggling now to see a way to go to Nigeria and come out as a lawyer, because even being a lawyer in this country too is another problem. All this thing I'm talking, I'm not going to acquire. Since I started my university, I've never been to acquire. So when you're talking like this, it's above me. I don't know what to say. Actually, I don't know what the parliamentarian and the other person are charging me for. They say he was dancing amongst the people who were dancing, that they have kept people in the bar. They say, what do you do in the bar? He say he is a receptionist in that bar, Bakasina, Cameroon. So he doesn't know why they are calling him here. He say he did not participate in anything, killing anybody, or ask somebody to kill somebody. He does not go to village. This is him.
And finally,
the investigator saw that the people are giving their statements. He said he's there to gather information concerning the killings of those people, and that, barrister, you people can take them, go. When time we shall need them, we'll call them up. Because it's an investigation that have opened. It's ongoing. So we are still waiting. There will be second calls, third calls. I know they will tell me on that day when I'll go for the second time, they say, you went there, I was talking on television. I said, yes, I spoke. I'm a lawyer for the family. I have the right to talk. I have the right to defend my clients. So that is exactly what I'm doing. And that will all happen. They didn't lock them up. They didn't come with gendarmes to arrest them. No, we took them there quietly. They gave us a spacious place. We sat. They put those questions. They answered. They signed the procès verbal. We lawyers too signed. And they asked us to go home. That is what happened.
All right. While that is happening, the head of state in his 2022 end-of-year message to the nation said the global security situation of the country, including the two crisis-hit northwest and southwest regions, is under control. And he also praised the army for fighting the cessation conflict. And recently, the army continued in its action of tracking down and killing separatist fighters, and one of the lead fighters was killed in Teke village along the Kumba-Tombel road, and his mortal remains exposed on the street at Three Corners, Kumba, Three Corners, Fiango in Kumba. Barrister, when you look at the current situation on the ground, is it under control, as the head of state said in his message?
You see, Mr. Babla Jonathan, this is a personal judgment. Whether who is accepting it, not accepting it, is my personal judgment. You see, for some time now, I can say they have part of 2022. They have been relative control and calm within the northwest and southwest concerning the war, the civil war that is going on in the Anglophone state of the country. When somebody says something, when he has said it correctly, say it's correct. The head of state in his statement was correct. The fighting slowed down to a drastic degree. I agree with the head of state. For once, he has said it is correct. But then, that speech again, after when things were cooling down, decided to prop up the recent happenings you are hearing happened in Kumba. Because if it's cooling down, it's a military technique, or it should be government technique, to stay quiet rather than provoking. It was another form of provocation. If the people stayed quiet, it was because there are other factors that made them to be calm. And that was the wish of the head of state. That was the wish of this present government, to make sure the fighting in the northwest and southwest becomes calm. It has relatively been calm, I've told you, in the half part of 2022. But it picked up after the speech, where you saw what you saw in Kumba. And I'm saying that the government always make it, on both sides, not only government, the government and the separatists always make it a trophy when they kill somebody they bring. Killing in national laws, our national laws, international laws, are crimes. You cannot be priding yourself for having killed somebody. It is a crime. In a situation where you go and kill and bring somebody, even a dead man has rights. He has rights as a dead man. He has to be protected by those rights. The rights of, in fact, his secrecy of his body should be respected. You don't kill a dead man and come and expose. It's not an animal. Only animals can be treated the way they are treating dead bodies. Honestly, when they kill military people, they apply the law of secrecy of their bodies and give them decent burials. Why would the military, with the SGO and all of those people, pride themselves to put somebody that they have killed? Can they not make their secret reports and send it to whoever who is their commander to know that we have done this, we have done this? It remains a secret, and let the people who have lost theirs should be crying their death. So I'm saying that that act is condemnable. It's not correct. To my mind, it's not correct. It isn't correct. Government is violating the rights of the dead by doing what they are doing. The soldiers that brought him there are violating the rights of the dead. All of that, they think is a trophy. It's not a trophy. It only goes to hurt the people. The more, when you do that, that is the truth. So they should stop that action. Even when they kill them, you show on television how they are killing, it's not correct. It's not correct. That is violating human rights. It is good to show the acts so that it can be condemned, and then better measures are put in place. I'm saying that the head of state speech has, in fact, provoked those people to come out, and they were attacked by the military. The military is in its position of making sure he eradicates those skirmishes that are happening in the Northwest Highways after it has had a cool for some time. The military is in its role. Of course, the separatists are also on the defense. They have a right, they are defending over something which the government knows should be done. We are crying every day, go to the negotiation table. Negotiations are currently going on, for what I know. But we are waiting for the outcome of that negotiation. But if things like that start happening, it only goes to spoil the negotiations that are going on, which is a deplorable act.
And the killing of elements of the National Armed Forces, other civilians, burning down of properties is equally
condemnable. All are condemnable, except for the fact that the root cause of the problem must be sourced out. They should source it out and then call the warring factions to make sure they stop the acts of barbarism, vandalism, killings, burning, and all of that. It should be stopped. There is a solution. And the solution is go to the negotiation table.
And while we await for that solution?
It is ongoing, Mr. Jonathan. I'm telling you that solution is ongoing. Yes. But we are still waiting for the solution, the final resolutions of that negotiation between the two factions.
There are still several parts of the two regions that are inaccessible as of now. In the northwest region, for example, those going to the NDONG division are forced to go through Fumbot, Fumba, and Makba to be able to go down, because they cannot come through Bamenda and then go down because the road is still blocked.
The responsibility of those blocks falls on government. Government have the regalian right.
They have not been blocked by soldiers, but by pro-independence fighters.
Yes, I know. Government have the regalian duty to make sure security reigns in those areas, as he has done in Bamenda town, as he has done in the southwest, as he has done in some other areas. Government has worked hard through its armed forces. We applaud them for that. But the separatist fighters still exist. They are there in those areas you have just named, the Donga Mantun, Dop, going to Bui, all of those areas. It remains the duty of the armed force of this country, the government of this country, to make sure all of this is brought to a total halt. No Cameroonian is blamed for it. In bringing it to total halt, government must negotiate with those separatists and their leaders. The leaders are in prisons. The leaders are abroad. Government should look for a way so that they meet, talk, and solve the problem. Because those fighters are fighting under a command. Government is fighting under a command. There are two warring factions. One is the state, one is the separatists.
Some of those who are said to be commanding the fighters have been arrested in the United States and are being prosecuted, and the head of state praised the U.S. for that collaboration.
There was no arrest. They were summoned to come to the investigating unit. They went there. They were all the charges. There are decisions that have been passed stating that they are not guilty. They are there. It was done even before the head of state went to America. You could find the very people on the streets. If they were arrested, would you have seen them on video, on television, on social media? Anu was there. Anu was one of them now. The others, they were all there, shouting that, oh, Pobia is not a Democrat. Why is he coming here? Why was he invited here? We all saw it. It's not as if I'm talking a day. Every Cameroonian saw it. The very people whom we claim they were arrested were there on the front line. If they were arrested, we know the United States system of government, the judiciary is very strict. If they were arrested, we would not have seen them that day, because that arrest was done before the coming of the head of state to the United States of America. So they were there. Right. And to comfort what I said, decisions have come out that the people had a right of what they were doing. They are liberal people in the United States of America. It's true there was a process, but finally a decision came out. They have been liberated.
We are going to take interviews of the week right now. When we come back, we'll talk about upcoming elections in Cameroon.
The legal practice is facing a lot of challenges, naturally from all angles, charlatans and lack of training, and you name the rest. During our campaign, within our framework of the roadmap we sent out, continuous legal training was one of the key things we said we were going to focus on, and this is part of it. Because like most professions, the legal profession requires a lot of continuous legal revision, because it's a very dynamic profession. It's a very dynamic profession, and it's getting more and more dynamic. The laws change every day. So that's why we're saying that the lawyers need to be trained so that they can meet up with the evolution of the laws. I seized the Minister of State, Minister of Justice, and Keeper of the Seals. I wrote to him in September. We had a meeting, and he indicated to me that it was the logistics were not there, and we hope that with the new finance law, the provisions, we are going to do something. In the past, the bar has always given a helping hand, a financial helping hand, to see that it is launched. I think when it comes to that, we will do. It's not really an immediate priority, because there are certain things that we think, the Bar Council thinks that we should have them amended in our bar laws to enable a better functioning of the bar, which includes the launching of the exams. The students that come out of the university will understand that there are some of them who have the ambition to become lawyers. The bar exams is launched at the request of the bar, or the law requires that they should launch it. So for now, we have made the request, and we have discussed with the minister. He said the means are not there. We've agreed. Now the budget has been voted. We are working on that.
Actually, the head of state was responding to an injunction coming from the IMF, because last year IMF said the subsidies that Cameroon is putting on oil, on the fuel, is too high, and the head of state came out with the figures: 700 billion for the fuel and 75 billion for the domestic gas, which is very high. That's what the treasury, our national treasury, is paying to subsidize the fuel. And the head of state say it's not longer sustainable. It simply means they are going to stop subsidizing fuel. So today, the question is not longer are they going to increase the price of fuel, but the question is, when is that going to happen? Is it tomorrow? Is it after tomorrow? Is it today? So definitely the price of oil is going to increase in the pump. Definitely. What amount, we don't still know. It depends how they are going to quit the subsidies. Is it gradually, or is it brutally and definitely? So depend on the option they are going to take, the government is going to take. The price might be very high in the pump, or it might increase gradually also. It's already very, very difficult. So if you take in consideration the purchasing power of Cameroon today, if they increase the price of oil, even 100 francs only, is going to be terrible. It's going to be catastrophic, considering the impact it's going to have on all the other sectors, because fuel is, when we talk of fuel, we talk of energy. Transport is affected, everything is affected. Most of the companies use fuel to operate. So if they increase fuel, even 100 francs only, is going to impact the rest of the life, the rest of the sectors, and all the products are going to be impacted, and the price is going to be very, very expensive, more and more.
Thank you for staying with us. The President of the Republic of Cameroon, Paul Biya, has convened the electorates for the senatorial elections March 12, 2023. And before this, the President, the National President of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, CRM political party, Professor Maurice Kamto, made statements that provoked or triggered several contradictory and convergent views. The president of your political party said the CRM political party will take part in all elections, even without the electoral code.
You are right. That is what he said.
What is the meaning of that?
Now, you see, the Cameroon Renaissance Movement is a political party that is governed by the directorate. That is the highest instance of the party that brings together the think tank, the box of the party. You know, because the government knew that that was the black box, they decided to start cramming on them. That is why you find today Professor Alain Foguet arrested unjustly for nothing he has done. Biboum Nisak arrested for nothing he did and imprisoned. Zambwe Pascal arrested and locked up. Mispa Awasum caught and locked up and later released, but sentenced thereafter. And many others that are still languishing in the jail because of their political expression, because they say what you are doing, Mr. Government, Mr. Biya, Mr. Ministers, Mr. Governor, Mr. Prefect, is wrong. That is why they are being locked up. In total violation of the law. They are there. The Cameroon Renaissance Movement under Professor Maurice Kamto is doing internal elections within the party, in the country, and abroad. We have finished the internal elections with our structures of the party abroad, all of Europe, America, Canada, and the rest, all. We are now in Cameroon, after which we enter our zones in Africa. So, we started off with Europe, all has been done. Professor Maurice Kamto, in the days ahead, will be installing all the officials of the party in Europe. He's gone over abroad. That is what he will do in the days coming. Because when we do the elections, there is official installation. So he's going to do the official installations abroad.
Yes, while he's doing all of that, what should we understand by the CRM will take part in all elections with or without the electoral code?
Because we know major
elections. You boycotted the earlier elections demanding for the revision of the electoral code or the Anglophone crisis should be resolved. None of these demands have been met.
We say with time, the government has heard us. The government says they have their time and their way of doing things. It's not as if what we said is government is against. They have only kept it. We keep working, they will come up and they will revise that code. The code will be revised before elections. When Professor Maurice Kamto, the president of my party, said, we are going in for all elections, the forthcoming elections. Within the party, we know that senatorial elections is out of our agenda. We can't participate in the senatorial elections. Let it be clear.
Why can't you participate in the senatorial elections?
At the time our party was created, we were only 6 to 7 months old. They called the first elections. That election we had 19 councillors, 1 deputy. Senatorial election, Senate was put in place. We declared that Senate we are putting in place is not good. Wait for the mandate of that council and parliamentary to expire. Then now we'll go in for fresh council and parliamentary elections. Then senatorial elections will hold because that is the electorate. Cameroonians should know the electorate is senatorial elections is an election, is an indirect election. That depends on the electors elected during council and parliamentary elections. And the chiefs are equally part of the electorate. When we had 19, we could not go for the senatorial elections because with 19, 10 in the West, 9 in Douala, we couldn't have one senator. When you know your strength is not there, you don't do it. We boycotted. Now, after that presidential elections, we saw all what happened. We won. They stole it again, from Frundi to us. We allowed it, and most of our people were arrested, locked up, because we were doing peaceful march.
That's what you're saying, that you won.
After that came,
but the result of the Constitutional Council, said President Paul Biya won.
They themselves took off certain paves. They show it around the world. They discovered that they were making a mistake, because if they keep counting with the 32 paves, we would have won on that day in that council. The judge of the Constitutional Council stopped the other judge who was bringing the paves. He said, no, you all saw it. Because the first, second, third showed victory for us. If they continued like that, there would have been a contradiction. So they stopped it. So let me tell you, just that fact, Cameroonians saw it, knew that we have 32 PVs that we are claiming today that showed us that we won. And 32 PVs make the majority of the voters, and we won the election. So that one
is that why you continue? Is that why you continue referring to Professor Maurice Kamto as the president-elect?
President-elect, yes.
Why should you be referring to him as the president-elect when there is an official result of that presidential election that was proclaimed by the authoritative body?
The fact that you hung your clothes outside, came out, did not see it. You will not keep crying that your clothes is there.
No, back to the senatorial election. Why are you saying that you will not take part?
We cannot go in for these senatorial elections because we still do not have that electorate that will compete with the senatorial elections. It should be clear to Cameroonians and the worldwide that the Cameroon National Movement can't go in for that election because the electoral code is made up of councillors, parliamentarians, and the chiefs. All chiefs in Cameroon have tended to be CPDM. We are ready for the upcoming council, parliamentary, and presidential elections.
Now, about the other elections.
Yes.
When Professor Maurice Kamto now says that we will take part in those elections,
yes,
even without the electoral code,
yes,
what explains that change, that shift of position? Because we know that since the CRM has been on the political scene, it has been clamoring for a revision of that electoral code. Now you're saying that if it is not revised, if it is not even existing, you will still go for election.
Yes. We want to make an imaginary world that there is no code, that will respect nothing. We just line up Cameroonians to go and vote. We'll go in for that kind of election because it will be voting and they count on the spot. Cameroonians line up, they vote and count without any code. We'll win this government. That is the meaning of that statement. Number two, if there is a code, the existing code, how bad as it is, we'll go in for the election because we are well grounded, prepared, and we are mobilizing further to make sure people register on the electoral register, adhere into our party. Our judgment is coming from our database of militants inscribing to the party, and we are producing their cards. We know we have 3/4 as of now militants that we have on our database that are card-carrying Cameroonians that are ready to vote for us. Any election, come whatever, grouping all the others on one box and put us on the other side, we are going to beat them. And that is a fact. And we are ready. They know. Security reports have gone far and wide. They know. That is why their only strategy on the other side is to fraud. Think of methods of frauding. And ELECAM has been put at the center of fraud. They are helping to fraud the electoral system and practice. But we are warning and saying that ELECAM should change its habit, siding with the government in place in order to make sure the government win at all costs. We all know their strategy now. We shall block them.
Elections Cameroon has been saying, and it continues to say, that it is an independent body. It's not taking side with anybody. It's just doing its job of organizing elections. Now, what about the fight against electoral hold-up that the CRM put up? And for some time now, it's been some kind of silent until when Professor Maurice Kamto started going around to install the regional officials of the party.
Now, I want to tell you, a fight does not last forever. The electoral hold-up has taken its time and the period it took, and the consequences that flow with it, we have understood, and we have now piped down. We are now going on another agenda. It's a complete package. That of going to manifest peacefully to tell the world, but they came with machine guns, rifles, live bullets, and all of that. We have understood. We are turning around the other way. You should ask us, the electoral hold-up still continue, because we are fighting government to make sure public manifestation by political parties must be given the chance to hold their public meetings. And we are winning. That one big time. We are holding our meetings. They have now understood, after all of that struggle of the hold-up, the fighting within political parties making meetings, it's only the Cameroon Renaissance movement that is seen in the political arena. The others are dormant. They are not heard. Now, we have won the war. We have won the war. We are holding our public meetings. They have come to understand us that we are non-violent. They know we are non-violent. We mean business. And what we are doing is peaceful. They have come to understand, and now they are allowing us to hold our meeting. We are not harmful. We don't destroy. We are doing nothing. So, given that they have understood that and we are holding our meetings,
that was seen during the last meeting at the Japoma Sports Complex,
Komsamba and Japoma,
where we saw a number of gendarme and police officers, controlling everything, making sure that everything is taking place normally. And because of that, and also because of the visit of the national president, Professor Maurice Kamto, to the presidency of the Republic, there are allegations that the Maurice Kamto-led administration of the parties conniving is pushing down towards the regime, is trying to do some negotiation with the regime.
No.
Is that true?
No. Fat lie. Anybody who has that thought should wipe it out. Get it from me, the Secretary General of the party. Professor Maurice Kamto is negotiating nothing with government. All we are doing is to make sure what contains the activity of a political party, we are doing it without hurting anybody. His visit to the presidency, he went there as an ordinary Cameroonian, a Cameroonian that has something to deposit, let the head of state read, on an issue that is, in fact, a state issue. It's not an issue to be discussed in public. You remember, Maurice Kamto knows how to go about his things. We have been sending letters to the presidency, he ends up somewhere. The mere fact that he goes himself to go and deposit is already news and curiosity for the head of state himself, who said, I want to see that document that man came and deposited. The question I'm asking, when he came there, they asked him why he came there. He explained that he has a letter to deposit. They took him inside. He deposited his document. They discharged that document. He took the discharge copy, came, entered his car, and went him away, which is a normal procedure in serving a letter at the presidency. Immediately after that, a newspaper came out and said, oh, he was chased out of the presidency. You can imagine, you see how the people don't sleep. They have a workshop that it helps to debunk certain things. The man deposited his document as a Cameroonian, destined to President Paul Biya. He was in the United States. They received it. And it's true. Paul Biya have read the letter. If the letter went through private, either to the Secretary General, I went there, nobody will raise a hand. It will even be blocked in the drawers. But the fact that Kamto went there himself, whoa, he has come there, whoa, the information. He said, I'm depositing a letter. And they allowed him, he deposited his letter. Now, the big question, Cameroonians should be asking, what was in that letter? They're not even looking for what he wrote in that letter. On the contrary, they're looking at how they will chase him out of the presidency. Kamto wants to take power. He wants to overthrow government. That was not the case.
That's what I wanted to ask you now, to tell Cameroonians what was in that letter, because a lot of revelations have been made about the content of the letter, referring to the Bakassi Peninsula issue with Nigeria and so on.
Mr. Jonathan, I am the Secretary General of the party. Kamto did not go there in that capacity as a political leader. because he could not have done that without telling us. That remains his private business. And I cannot tell you because I don't know what was in that letter. The question I should be asking you, Mr. Jonathan, and the public that is listening to us, have you people questioned Paul Biya? What was the letter they brought there? Why are you coming to ask me, Barrister NDONG, that I should tell you what another professional professor of law have written to Paul Biya? Why don't you? You are a journalist. The first question, Mr. Journalist, the first question.
No, but the national president of your party.
An international employer.
And if you're saying that he didn't go there in his capacity as national president of the CRM.
No. He didn't go there in that capacity. He went there as a Cameroonian, a professor, somebody who had, in fact, served this nation. He went and deposited a letter. He has not given me a copy. It has not been published in any media. The media should be curious to go there and ask Paul Biya, what was that letter they sent?
The information, the information coming to us is that it concerns the Bakassi Peninsula.
Curiously enough, if that letter contained any kind of stupid or foolish statement, the same government would jump on it and publish on social media through their agents. But because they knew the content of that letter is, in fact, showing that that man is patriotic. It was a patriotic message. If I have to put it in a global sense, Kamto went there because he had a patriotic message. He had left aside his struggle as a political leader, wanting to overthrow the government through the peaceful means and the ballot. He went there as a Cameroonian and as a professor of law. And as Maurice Kamto, he went there himself. The party did not know anything, so don't associate it to the party. But now the question is, why are Cameroonians so close to the government, close to Paul Biya, close to the system, cannot publish that letter? Let them publish. Cameroonians will know why Kamto went there for. Me too, I will read. Don't come and ask me. Kamto cannot tell me. Kamto did all his case, Equatorial Guinea and France. He did not tell me. I was looking on social media like other people because it's professional. Kamto is doing all his work with the international community. He does not come to tell us. That is not politics. What is not politics, we don't need to know from Kamto, but what is politics, we want him to explain. If he went there and it was something political between the fight at CRM and CPDM, they would have published it. So, not that it was a patriotic message that he took to the presidency. Let the presidency publish it. Because if they publish, it will expose them. But if it is a good letter, they will keep it and walk, thinking that, or knowing fully well that Kamto has in fact told them that something is wrong somewhere.
A question a Cameroonian listening to you now want to ask is, but Barrister NDONG Christopher knows that it was a patriotic message. He knows that it was a good message.
Yes.
But he does not know the content of the message. How come he does not know the content? But he knows that it was a good and patriotic message.
Yes. I'm giving you what myself as a curious CRM Secretary General. I spoke with my boss. I said, sir, but what carried to the presidency? He said, AJ, I went there to deposit a letter. It's a patriotic message. I've given you the message. Should I talk above that? I've just given you what I had as private discussion with my boss. I was contented. I said patriotic message, because me too, after talking to me like that, if I come to hear that I've published is a different thing, we shall take him on to task. Let me tell you, in our party, he does not dictate as people think. Kamto puts it on the floor. We debate it on the floor. For those who have once assisted, they know. Even those who have left us and gone, they know. Everything is discussed at the directorate. Decision is taken unanimously. Contrary to what people are talking, like when we decided not to go for elections, cancel parliamentary elections, oh, Kamto took decision alone. He did not take any decision alone. It was the National Council of the party. It's a global, that is a big body of an assembly of all the officials of the party put together in Yaoundé. They said, with the reasons and facts presented by the president of the party after deliberation from the National Bureau, the National Council applauded. And that's how we didn't go for the elections. Let people don't think otherwise.
Barrister NDONG Christopher, member of the Cameroon Bar Association, Aya family lawyer, Secretary General of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement.
And I'm a Chief Barrister NDONG.
Chief Barrister NDONG Christopher, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Jonathan. Honestly, I want to thank Equinoxe Television because it's a reliable communication channel that informs, educates, and in fact put to limelight the things that are happening in society. This is a respectable TV house. I thank you for once more inviting me. This is my 3rd edition in the Inside House.
Thank you, Barrister. Thank you, dear viewers, for staying with us. That will be it for today. Goodbye.